Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to another episode of Beyond Bilica. Today, we're going to recount the short stories of our dear friends Arizo, narrator, and Morty. Oh my gosh, I forgot Morty's last name. Uh, something.
Cleddy foul.
Betty Fowl? Uh,
Cleddy foul.
Cleddy Fowl. Yes. Uh, cool. So, we start our story in with the soft creak of a hammock as the din of a kind of uh, 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 a party settling down to rest for a a long rest, um, and figuring out who's on watch in this um, uh, kind of hostel like room where we have these bunks that connect to the floor in this kind of somewhat crowded room now full of seven or some odd people. But also we have furniture stuck to the ceiling and um, and hammocks draping from the ceiling. As we are here in this interesting layer between the gravity of Bilica proper and the kind of drift that zone that occurs slightly above it. And we find ourselves here with Arizo as he's kind of curling up into this uh, hammock here and finding a little cozy patch and thinking about the hammock that he once lived in his days seafaring and lands beyond, um and just finally having a kind of a moment to himself as other folk in the room are kind of doing their own thing, um and he's kind of looking out this window at the world beyond and this weird city that he's found himself in. As he's kind of uh instinctually uh you know uh holding has his cane by his side, but it doesn't seem to be calling to him like it used to. What is Arizo's kind of internal thoughts in this moment? What is he thinking about as so much has changed and he has this moment to breathe here?
Oh, it has been a long day. Oh, what have I gotten myself into? Well, at least there's hammocks here. Hammocks remind me of home.
Nice.
Time to sleep. And maybe things will get better in the morning and we can get a ship and get out of here.
Yeah. And you think about all that has changed and you look out the window. I assume you close the shutters for a little bit of
Oh
privacy,
yeah. Yeah, he's
kind
like
of
locked the door and closed.
absconding.
Yeah, and that was the first thing he did was like
Yeah.
close all viewpoints in the room. Yeah.
Um, as you close the door, you take in a one last sight of the streets outside as um, you see uh, a couple Dabus are there, those gray skinned floating creatures who talk to each other in these spectral emojis that flit there above their heads that seem to be doing some brickwork to um, patch up one area of the street. And there's a couple of little children of various different humanoid races playing hacky sack by a bench near a sort of flower shop of sorts. And um, there seems to be, a group of gnomes in overalls walking forcefully down the street as away from the forges they presumably just ended their shift at, with tool sheds at their sides. And you kind of close the hatches here, but we, the audience, see your face kind of go by, but we zoom out to see the rest of the street as you've kind of uh skull yourself away, and we see whizzing down the street this small creature, this quickling, this thinned being with a mop of female hair atop, and she seems to be kind of like zipping down the street and then looking back and panting a foot, and then zipping over to this other kind of this human looking creature, and then zipping down and being in this way of being very obviously over exaggerated about how annoyed she is of how slow this human who she seems to be walking with is going. And as we kind of upon this scene here, as walking down the street, taking in some other aspects of the street here, what does Morty look like? What is he wearing as he's coming down this somewhat more upscale, uh, uh, gentrified, if you will, street of sorts? Um, yeah.
So Morty, I believe, has his suit on. He is going, but he has his briefcase at his side, ready to go. Should things not go as planned, he's got a backup in the briefcase.
But very distinctly, Morty doesn't have any sort of insignia or anything like that on, and it's just kind of using the fact that he's got this nice, uh, you know, coat on to kind of blend in with a couple of the other people around here that seem to have a little more hoity-toity fashion choices. Uh, you see that there are these coming down from the other side of the street. There are these two cyclopses that have over their shoulders a sedan chair, which is this kind of this elevated seating platform that's mostly covered, that has these two long kind of wood struts that are held on each shoulder by these two cyclopses, and it seems to come down the streets, kind of tilting a little bit as it goes over the stair steps here. But it comes to the side of one side of the street, and out from this now seated chair, you see this like fully in black on black lady seems to come out with like tons of little furs and things all over her fashion choices, with dark robes and jewelry over uh, um, uh, over black gloves, with a somewhat taller lady, if you will, who has like this kind of brim hat that kind of shades a little bit of her head, but she has sort of a gray silvery complexion underneath, and she kind of pops out of the car and starts having a little bit of of a uh, a chuckle as out jumping out of the car on a leash is this black mastiff, this kind of pure, so black that it almost absorbs the light around it, um, uh, uh, kind of droopy faced dog, that to our viewers in the real world might look weird in this setting, given how non uh, non magic, besides the kind of sucking of light, looks like a normal dog. And But amongst similar characters like this all over the street that are kind of perusing these shops and things, the flower shop, other shops like that, we find Morty there as well, with this quickling wearing this like emissive vest that glows with a slight yellowy green, who is just zipping around, kind of somewhat annoyedly. And you see she finally stops and kind of does a little gesture to Morty, towards this one shop that actually the lady in black seems to have already is gone into, with the two cyclopses kind of outside on either side in like a sort of guard pose of sorts. But the shop that she's referencing is right next to this other shop called Simbra's Apothecary. It seems to be some sort of potion-y shop of sorts, but it's called Supreme Summons. Um, and as she gestures there, give me a perception check, Morty, just for other things that are happening on this street here.
Yeah.
Uh, Sorry, 21. Cool. Um, as you're kind of getting ready to listen to Lulu as uh she seems to be waiting for you to catch up to her, you do notice that there is those two gnomes from before are stopped by a group of harmonium guards that are rounding the corner now behind you, the direction from which you came. And you are able to overhear with your kind of just keen awareness of what's going on as you're kind of a little bit putting on a persona of sorts, right? You are able to hear them kind of talking to these gnomes in common, saying, so, uh, well, I told you that he's probably long gone by now. I mean, way out in the void. I mean, let the Adventurers Guild find him. I said, well, let's just ask these people. It's like, hey, sorry to stop you in your walk home here, but have you seen any rabbit folk around here or anything? We're looking for a Rizzo Narringer or some sort of. He's got a bounty on him of some sort. And you hear this kind of talk go back and forth a little bit.
Erringer, you say? Do you know what he looks like? I haven't heard the name before. Is there a
Oh,
wanted poster around?
so you kind of double back as there seem to be talking to these gnomes that are walking by as well, and the gnomes walking from work are just like, nope, haven't seen any tall folk most of the day. Sorry, and keep going as the guards seem to walk over to you. It's like, yeah, I, I mean, yeah, I don't know, a defensive order representative such as yourself or something might know more about this. Or you happen to be affiliated with them or anything?
I can't say I am. And
Oh, okay.
instantly,
Sorry, yeah. I'm just judging by your clothes there. Well, the yeah, the I'm sure the adventurers have it all set up, but there's a pretty big bounty on this Arizo Narringer guy ever since the Zodar trials and everything. Just the higher ups in the Harmonium have us out and about making doing a little bit of you know searching here and there. So I don't know if you see anybody with ears popping out of the top of a hat or something. Uh, Apparently that's a sign of some sort. I don't know. Yeah, cool. Well, have a good day, sir. Sorry to bother you. And
you as well.
yeah, uh, and they kind of keep going on. Um, as you as Lulu's like, let's before I leave, let's just have a little convene here over underneath this tree. We're a little out of the way here. Um, uh, yeah, and you see her kind of go towards a tree in the middle the uh of the Simber's Apothecary and the Supreme Summons, just out of earshot of the Cyclopses, and you see her say, "Okay, we finally made it. So, man, you were just so dang slow, okay? But it's kind of excruciating. Okay, well, at least after this, I won't have to deal with you anymore. So, I hope you're hauling some gems because, stuff around here can get expensive. And like I said before, should you need, you should probably get a neon band, dude. Because you might risk getting robbed or whatever, and though this is a pretty nice part of town, okay, you just consider that, okay. But just remember, we're here to support you if needed. You know how to contact us. Just send a twine to the Fey Dyad. But as we are concerned, besides what I just didn't say, we don't know each other. So, yep, here is the place you got to go to. They have really good deals on some, starting Conjumon or whatever you're calling it. I don't know. We just call them contracts here. But the yeah, just know that this is that while they are totally distinct from the Fey Dyad, we do have some connections with them, and this is our most let's just say our most trusted other source of gaining such conjuration contracts here outside of the Fey Dyad. So uh,
You've been
I
most
would suggest
informative.
keeping your purchases here, but there are other places to do as well. Now I really have to go, but do you have any last questions for me before I do and finally can get rid of being here waiting? Oh my gosh.
You've been so wonderful. I won't take any more of your time. Thank you.
Okay, cool. And she just like that is just 250 feet per turn out of there.
Can I try to make a velocity sort of observation to see if I can hone in on exactly how fast compared to something like a small aircraft?
Calculate the feet per second of
yeah, sure. Give me like a I don't know what that would be. Honestly, a nature check because you've been with her you've been calculating how fast she
That
is, I
seems
guess.
appropriate. 21.
Okay,
Back
sorry.
to back.
No, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. You're making me pull stuff up, man. Um, cool. Yeah. So, with the 21, she's definitely whatever species she is, which I mean, they're called quicklings, but I don't think you would know that. Is able to just zip around like speedster style. And her base movement speed, if this loads, can get up to more than 100 feet per turn, which means if she dashes, she can get you know, even more than that. But it won't load, so it's about 200 or something max speed.
Cool.
Cool.
That's
So,
insanely fast. And I thought I was a quick character, but this just goes to show.
yeah, but she's like 1/4, 1/3 your height or something like that. Um, yeah, probably 1/4, to be honest. Cool. Well, you are here taking in the sights and sounds of everything. With that 21 perception from before, you do notice, up above, you've been realizing that, this is you're quite near the adventure docks, and there's all of these ships in that are kind of moving up in above your view and out, and they seem to be moving pretty slowly here near all the buildings and stuff, really slowly. But there's one that kind of just recently seemed to drop down behind a building over there and other things, and right now there's one that's kind of descending almost to the rooftop line of this street, and is kind of zooming past, but really really slowly. um cool. Uh do you want to give me one last perception check before you head in? I assume you're gonna
Yeah.
head into the store here.
Yeah, I'm gonna look around, who knows if the harmonium was looking for the person that might be around the corner in just a moment. Who knows?
Yeah. 13. um yeah, with a 13, you you are kind of, as you get yourself ready to kind of go into whatever this hoity-toity shop is, you look over your shoulder at this spelljammer flying above, um, and you do think it's odd that it's going so close to the third story window of this one hostel called Bunks and Trunks. But you don't make too much of a notice of it as you kind of get back to what you're doing. And with a 13, you don't see that in a silent quickness of sorts, some sort of like smoke, chugging smoke, like gray and obscuring, quickly like protrudes out of a hatch in this this everdrift of the spelljammer, and you hear like and you don't hear this kind of somewhat silent and like meticulous sound of shutters opening creak, and uh as we pan out from where our friend Morty is, um Arizo narrator.
I love the description of all the things that people didn't notice. Yeah, very very good and detailed description of things that were not seen. Yep. If a tree
um
falls in the forest, does it make a sound?
Arizo, can you give me a athletics or uh acrobatics check as
That would be an acrobatics check then, good sir.
yes,
Most certainly. Um,
and I'm gonna roll with this cool die. It's got
Ooh.
a d20 within a
ooh,
d20. You
ooh.
can
So
roll
that's
your
like
advantage
advantage
roll.
or disadvantage.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Okay, cool. What was your score there?
I got a 14 on acrobatics.
Okay, with as you were just um like you've now fallen to sleep, um for a little bit here, um you see, uh you like your eyes wake up as you feel this furry maw clawed come over your mouth, and these like the thumb like ticks in right under your eye, and you feel a searing uh pain in the side of your body where this brand of sorts is glowing with this turquoise light that is coming out of it. Um, take 1d4 points of psychic damage.
Oh, hooray. Did I get a long rest or not?
Yeah. We're gonna say,
Okay.
yeah, that you will you will have gained a long rest at the end of this, so you can just uh we just short rested and then this
Oh,
happened.
gotcha.
So
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah,
So I would be at here. Let me roll 2 hit dice then real quick. Boop,
3
boop.
because song of
11.
rest occurred. But yeah, um
Oh, gotcha. And then plus another D8.
um
Yeah.
cool. But um
Then
yes,
I'm at full. Okay.
and a this kind of claw comes over your head, and with a much higher than your 14 acrobatics here, you find your whole body scooped up out of this hammock of sorts as this large creature in the smoke. It's like cerulean eyes like stabbing into you, with almost like these like lasery kind of effect, and but not doing any damage, but emotionally, and the kind of smell of the drip on over its teeth of this maw. This like big creature is like intentionally within this smoke of sorts. Give me a as you are now kind of grappled and seem to be quickly being moved out the window. um give me a perception check or
Okay.
investigation. Okay, you definitely feel like you were being, you know, kidnapped in a very orchestrated way right now. Um, and but
No, I'm
there's
pretty sure
some
I know what this is.
but there's something interesting in the fact that even with that 10, you notice a grace to the way that you are like being moved through the space. And you remember from before that one of your allies was sleeping just on the floor below you. But this lumbering hulking creature seems to have kind of tiptoed its way around, in and you're feeling a definite kind of psychic sleep of some sort, kind of trying to penetrate within you from the smoke that is kind of entering this room.
Can I try to make a loud noise?
Yeah, you can try and make a loud noise. This is going to be an opposed check. What kind of check are you trying to do here?
I'm essentially trying to alert any sleeping comrade that might be beneath me.
Okay.
So if I have an object on me, I could attempt to throw that like against the wall or against the floor, like to make a loud thud. Like when you're in a hotel, like and you can hear the stomping above you.
Well, you have
Um,
actually several objects on you, as you still have all the papers and evidence that you kind of fell asleep with having in your little pouch
yep,
of sorts.
that's not gonna make that loud of a noise though. But
But so okay, cool. So you're gonna try and do a kind of a physical act of throwing something away. Let's just see if you
yeah,
can
well,
even grab for something as you're being physically restrained.
yeah,
So
something on the nightstand, yeah.
um cool. I'll say this is a athletics check, because more than just trying to weasel out of this, you're trying to hit something over. So roll
Okay.
for it.
Well, that's not gonna be good.
With a 19 on my dice, this kind of creature just flexes like very uh seemingly like not nonchalantly, and you find yourself quickly taken into a room that smells a little off, but kind of smells like home, as you find yourself within the dark now. There was a moment of like awakening light as you were kind of drifting between a third story window and a spelljammer of sorts. But now you find yourself in a dark room with a green glow of a ever ever burning torch on one side, but within the whole of some sort of ship, um, with not enough light to really make out where any sort of exit might be. Um, and you do notice that the the kind of hatch that you like entered through, um, this as the smoke kind of dissipates, this clawed hand like holds out and touches the Everdrift nearby, and um, the Everdrift wood of the hole kind of expands outwards and quickly grows to like cover the hole that was like opened, um, in a way that almost like hardens the hull of the ship to be um, like fully wood. Um, and out of the smoke, all of these kind of arcane, like turquoisey sigils start to appear as the smoke dissipates, and Grix, this uh, creature that you've seen before, appears, but in a much more humanoid, kind of maybe Goliath-sized uh, creature than the size large or even maybe size huge creature that seemed to snatch you here. And in full, kind of more regal robes and attire, with this almost like priestly looking shawl on, but that instead has just like um, very, very tiny writing like all over it, seemingly like lists of like laws and stuff that are like illegal or something. This bear humanoid creature um, uh, stands before you. Uh, cool. What do you, as we cut away back to uh, our friend below, what are you thinking about in this moment as you're you're there?
Well,
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
shit. This ain't gonna be good.
Yeah. Cool. Sorry. Okay. Um, cool. Eric, let's take a little bit of liberty here. What do you think the fun sound is of the jingle on the door as you walk by these cyclopses outside and enter into this somewhat more personable shop here? Give us the
What
jingle.
what's the
Yeah.
jingle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Dun 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 dun.
Okay.
Boom.
Okay.
There we go.
um, cool. As you walk in, you have this immense feeling of like being home. Like you don't see, the little techno scanner that you need to like get in through the doors slide open type of thing to get into your Conjumart, but you do see there's like a pristine kind of a jewelry shop of sorts here that you've entered into, but that is interestingly has um that kind of feel of being in like a very clean and organized space, but also is instead of maybe made of more of these metals and glass that you'd be used to in a kanji mart, has this more grounded wooden earthy feel that makes it feel like someone's home, and like maybe the shopkeep lives here type of thing, more so than just, but still having this ambiance of being this more you know like elite fashion store type of vibe. And as you walk in, you see that you definitely can just immediately sense that there is a lot of arcane security something something going on here, as you can just kind of feel it on your back, as something it, there's probably some sort of security system on all of these somewhat ornate looking pendants and pieces of earrings and jewelry and things that all seem to be intricately carved all across the store. Um, what do you start? What do you start looking towards? Do you kind of go towards some of the cases that are nearer to the window? Do you try and enter further into the room to see the back where there's the desk with where the shopkeep is now talking to that lady in black? Um, what are you doing?
Well, typically I would be accustomed to seeing the most expensive items up near the window,
Hmm.
and be those would be prime on display. But I think that might be out of Morty's budget. So I'm gonna presume there are smaller trinkets that may be more suitable to Morty's pocketbook at the moment, towards the back. So let's go back towards where the shelving is in the
Yeah. Uh, yeah. You see that uh up to one side there seems to be like a wall that like turns into like what almost looks like a big like brewery like um uh canisters, like the size of like four times your size type of thing, that kind of reminds you of like walking into a Conju mart and like needing to get some sort of common liquid or food or something like that. And but you can tell that one of these is just labeled grease, and it just has like a bunch of grease under it, and in kind of big common letters it's like uh has a little ad that's like huh, wanna use the grease spell but don't want to annoy your neighbors, contract with us, and and don't fear. uh yeah. And then in small letters below is like it's like officially licensed to legally contract out grease to the Source Pact citizens. And yeah, and then there seems to be uh, uh, yeah, other kind of canisters of this and that there in this side of the room. Um, but you do see that there is another wall that has need a familiar as like in big text like up top. And there seems to be like a whole like shelf of like of of things. And it's kind of like when you might go to the store to get uh like milk or eggs or something where like there's like you can like view them beyond, but like at a certain point you need to like open uh a certain glass case to like open it, and it seemed like those are have a little lock on them of sorts that you might need to go, you know, ask up front on. But you're able to see all of these individual pendants that have like a little plaque underneath of them, kind of describing different things. Um, do you kind of peruse through that? Do you try and keep an ear out for what this other patron in the store might be um, talking about, or you look at other things? What do you do here? Oh, is he frozen? He might be frozen. I think Eric has died.
Oh, he died.
Can you pause the recording here? You know how to do it?
Sure.
Just
One.
awesome. Okay, technical difficulty there. But yes, so you walk over to this big, there's on top of this uh this one wall, it says need a familiar. And there's like these little glass kind of doors that seems like could be slid open to kind of access these little amulets, or what your artificer brain is telling you seem to be sort of foci of sorts um um inside. And it seems like there's a little lock on these that might need some sort of key or so from the shopkeep or something like that. But you can see these little pendants of sorts and plaques underneath them, kind of describing different ones. And it looks like various ones of these plaques have various different numbers um, of these amulets. Like some of them seem to have a lot of empty hooks, as if like they're in high demand and only a few left, whereas others, don't have as many hooks to start with, or other things like that. So each of these is kind of unique animal in that case. But
So
on the wall, like there is a little poster that gives like some information to about seemingly pricing and other details as well. Are you interested in starting to look at that stuff, or do you want to look at other things in the room, or do you want to kind of dip an ear into what's happening with this lady at the counter, or yeah, what are you gonna do?
so Morty is already indexing in his head which ones were most taken from the least remaining number of keys on the one, and then cross-referencing it with the most expensive conjumon on the price tag list. And he's trying to find the intersection point between the one in highest demand and the one that's at the highest price. And so he's trying to like figure out which one is the most like sought after,
Mhm.
and to see if he can find one that's a good matchup against that one. So he's
Yeah,
probably gonna do some kind of like insight check to
cool.
cross-reference
Yeah, you can give
for
me an insight
those.
check, um, or investigation probably uh make more sense. But an
Ooh,
insight check tells you that each of these doesn't have its price labeled um underneath the type of creature that it is. And you get the sense that some haggling might be a part of um the system here, but it does seem like the thing within 21 to be haggled over is the upfront security cost for acquiring the initial kind of foci or amulet or contract itself. But the kind of pricing poster on the side shows that these contracts have three different sources of payment. One is the security deposit to create the contract in the first place. And that's the thing that might be able to be haggled over, or that might be a little bit more expensive for a certain type of familiar than another. But then there's pretty standard rates for the every 10 minutes interval of you using the contract's time, kind of like how if you were to contract with like a lawyer or something, they might have like a payment upon time. And then there's also an additional set cost for payment on death, should whatever you do with the Conjumon kill it in some way. And so those two other costs seem to be pretty set in stone. And it seems like within the find familiar tier, there's in other parts of the shop, there seems to be much higher level conjuration spells there, like summon beast or other things like this that you've heard about being within potentially an adventurer's magical capabilities, but not your own yet. But these contracts here within Find Familiar, it seems like there's three tiers. There is the what's called the pet contract, the familiar contract, and the guardian contract. It doesn't really tell you right here like what the difference is between those. Maybe you could ask the shopkeep about it. But the pet contract seems to have, in general, a 30 yellow gem security deposit up front with 3 blue gems every 10 minutes as a usage cost, and then 30 yellow gems on death. And then familiar contract is the same thing, but 60 yellow gems security upfront cost, 6 blue gems every 10 minutes, and then 60 yellow gems on death. And the guardian contract is 90 yellow gems up front, 9 blue gems every 10 minutes, and 90 yellow gems on death. So you are kind of noticing that all of those prices seem to be a little higher than maybe what you have on hand as you look through your stuff. How much actual coinage or gemage do you have on you?
Morty walks around with about 11 yellow gems and 11 orange gems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, you're not quite sure exactly how all those conversions happen yet, but yeah. What do you do as you kind of take in this information? Do you want to learn more about the specifics of different familiars here, or do you want to go up to
I'm gonna ask a little bit more about the pet versus familiar distinction and see if there's a notable difference in those. I don't think I'm as interested in the guardian one as of yet, but we'll go from there.
Yeah. So you kind of go up to the front desk to try and talk to somebody about it, I assume. Okay. You find yourself kind of like waiting behind this dark clad lady who seems very, poised and stands straight and is like dressed kind of in like all black tones, but doesn't seem to be like gothy in like vibes, like isn't wearing like face paint or anything, though has like a brimmed hat that kind of creates a little bit of shadow on her face. But she has in hand with her is holding her shadow mastiff, the dark puppy, with its and seems to be buying some sort of new leash of sorts, and is like chatting up with the shopkeep on their desk, with all of the accoutrement behind them. And you see she's kind of chatting there, and it's like, Uhtred, I've been so excited about getting uh my little my own shadow mastiff here. I'm I'm so grateful for your discount from earlier. I really appreciate it. You know, I'm I really love supporting you, and you do such good service here. So yes, I've picked out this leash that I'd like to buy here. And I'll have you know that at the at where I got Sir Fezziwig here, uh, they also spoke highly of Supreme Summons as well. So the name of your little shore is definitely bouncing around these higher circles, and you see this tiefling in a sort of um, one of those vests that like looks pretty prim and proper, but still leaves like your arms out. Seems to be behind the counter, kind of uh, uh, packaging up this leash that's been bought and things. And
Still leaves your arms free to do actual work.
yeah, yeah. And he's like, yes, well, I seems like I've put the charge into the Arcana cashier here, and I've also input that Mr. Fezziwigs will now be uh, creating a contract, right? That's really what you're here for, I assume. And she's like, oh yes, but as per usual, just only one contract, just between me and him. Uh, def- just to make sure that should he get into any trouble, he won't be dying on me. You can't imagine how much I've paid for uh, uh, this little pet. And he's like, yes, yes, I understand. Would I assume, just as before, you won't be using one of our standard issue foci, and you have something of your own that you'd like to have attuned? And she's like, oh yes. And she takes a kind of necklace. I almost forgot necklace off from that she's already has and puts it on there. And she, as per usual, it will be about a day's time for me to get around to this. But that just means that I get to see your presence again. And she's like, oh, well, I do have a function, you see. So I may be sending a twine to come pick it up, but that's okay. That's okay. And you see there's like a very cordial interaction there as he says, yes, and cool. Uh, uh, just for disclosure, seems we have other people present. Uh, we've already talked about the cost. And uh, she kind of is like, yes, I'm ready to pay. And she takes out her hand that kind of takes off. She takes off this glove, revealing like she has these rings that are like on top of this black glove, and she takes off the glove part, but like only so much so to like the rings, revealing an eon band on like a bare white skin. And as she raises her hand out, um uh give me a perception check. um yeah, 6. With a 6 on the dice, you think that you see the her like white hand, like as the light from streaking through the window like hits it in a more distinct way. You think you see like sizzling on her skin as she puts the eon band underneath this kind of arcanotech system, and some sort of chime occurs as numbers are kind of illusionary numbers like flip between these two objects. And then she like puts the band back, and he's like, oh, well, I'm so excited. And let's just say it's always a pleasure to work with you. I've been telling all of my friends about your little shop here, and I really think you have the best deals around. And he's like, well, Mr. Ville, we always appreciate your support. And yes, and the free marketing is very much welcome. Um, and she kind of gets the leash on and is excited and heads out the door. As she does so, she notices you there and is like, "You're in a good place here, man. Mister, uh, uh, Mr. Udridge here, Udridge Simber has all the summons you could need, from beast to devil. And well, I'll let him sell it for himself. But just know that us here of high society still take care to find the best little shops around, and more of us should be supporting our local small businesses." And she kind of walks out, putting all of her dark clothes on again.
Zach writing an ad
Yes.
campaign to support small businesses in the middle of the session.
uh, yes. What do you do as she starts to leave? What are you doing there?
I'm mostly preparing to talk to the shopkeeper, see
Okay.
what sort of haggling I can get up to. I'm not gonna tempt
Yes.
fate with this one.
Cool. You see her kind of leave, ringing the chime that as she goes away, and the Cyclops is kind of, you can hear their lumbering outside as she uh seems to head off or whatever.
The sedan chair is a nice touch. It's a cool move. I do acknowledge.
um as she goes by, Udrig's like, "Oh, well, sorry about that. Let's just say Miss DeVille is one of our best customers, and so it required my full attention. Uh, I'm I'm Udrig Simber here. Uh, what brings you to my shop? It seems like you're not from around here."
Udric, my name is Morty, and you're right, I am not from around here.
Mm-hmm.
But I have business outside the Source Pact. And of course, it would be most prudent to have a second set of watchful eyes amongst me. So it would seem as though I am in need of a familiar.
Ah, you see, give me an insight check with disadvantage.
Ooh, we don't like to hear that.
Okay.
Oops.
Uh,
You don't see, because Jacob hates that I say that, that as you say watchful eyes, he his like his the demeanor of his face like changes just slightly. But um even though you've kind of entered this world of tales and nuance and things, you don't your let's just say your poker analysis isn't good enough to figure out what exactly that means. But then as you continue the sentence towards the topic of familiars, um, uh, unbeknownst to you, that kind of face slips away. As he's like, "Ah, yes, a familiar. Well, we have it's great entryway to conjuration as a hobby. Would you consider yourself a hobbyist of sorts?" Uh, yes.
a, a budding hobbyist, soon to be, as one might say. But
Well,
in this,
you've definitely come to the right place. Uh, we pride ourselves here at Supreme Summons for having summons ranging from beasts to devils uh, to uh, to creatures contracted from the near Bilican void. Um, and you'll find here the greatest collection of familiars in all of the Source Pact, not even maybe all of Bilica. When it comes to our everyday familiars, this is the place to be. Uh, we also have, just so various higher level conjurations as well. And one thing that we pride ourselves in is that several of these more premium familiars also can double as uh, being used for these higher level spells, and are able to kind of have some sort of martial defense as required. Uh, with those summonings as well. What kind of familiar? He kind of steps out from the back of the bar there and starts walking over to the big shelf that you'd been looking at before, and is like, it seems to me from your attire at least that you seem to be a big spender from afar. I would like to bring your attention to the fact that we have three tiers here of contracts. And though all of these pendants and earrings and things here shown are master crafted and beautiful. Should you care to attune this contract that you might purchase from us to some other sort of trinket, we definitely can have those services as well. It'll just be a day's time or so to attune the contract to it. Speaking of types of contracts for familiars, we here actually separate into three different contracts as something distinct that we do here at Supreme Summons. You see, for those new to conjuration, we have the pet contracts, which are a little bit more affordable, but and allow you to summon a familiar for your emotional aid, but don't grant all of the effects of a wizened spellcaster, such as being able to see through a familiar's eyes and other sorts of nifty features. But a familiar contract, our standard contract here, does require such features. And for those who are, maybe bigger spenders and who care to have a little bit of protection about them within this, occasionally chaotic world that we live in, we have the Guardian contract, which, in addition to being all the normal familiar benefits, also allows for one to, let's just say, use the attack action of a familiar foregoing their own should some sort of combat arise, and allows for a more self-defense oriented person to use those sort of skills that a familiar might have, which a normal familiar contract would not allow you to do. And with that, you can see that we have a wide array here of creatures and that we hold contract to here. Does anything catch your fancy? What type of creature are you looking for? Beast, devil, void creature? What suits your fancy?
Oh, where I'm from, we have a saying, and it goes, "You gotta catch 'em all." I'm interested in this void type creature that I
Oh
have
my
yet to hear
gosh.
much about.
Yes. Well, we've got various creatures that can aid you in the void here. Let me just go down the line here. We have here our resident. We've got some flumps. These sort of squid-like creatures. I'm sure you seem like you have some experience in the void. Tend to have a more hearty psychic connection, allowing for a better psychic access as a familiar, and as a guardian contract, even have tendrils that can do kind of reoccurring poison damage of sorts. There's also the space mollymawk, a favorite amongst the more goofy bardic type of fellows, that does have a nifty a flyby ability of sorts, but tends to be incredibly stupid, and some people just love that. But they do have a natural ability of being able to hold their breath for an exceedingly long amount of time, which can be quite useful for those traveling the void. We also have here one of our more exotic creatures. As you can see, we only have a couple left here, but we have young star lancers, which and you see him kind of, his tone definitely hushes a little bit. You see, these were contracted out from the Lightbringer side of the Great Wall, and let's just say they're tiny little star lancers looking for combat experience from adventurers before inevitably being bought out by bidders and the Lightbringers and even mercy killers. But just want to put full discretion out there. But we do have some of these more exotic connections here at Supreme Summons. It's why we're the best around. We've also got lots of these baby dolphin delighters. The shepherds out in this splitting between the source inside the ring of Bilica. A shepherd lots of dolphins here and there, but some of them are too small to really be shepherded properly, but want some experience in moving through the drift. And so we give that to them through these contracts. They're quite nifty for adventurers as well, as they do have some teleporting prowess, though a little bit hard to control, and if befriended correctly, can have some healing properties as well. Now, speaking of adventurers, I don't know if you seem maybe that you aren't an adventurer of sorts, but if you do find yourself stuck out in the void with no spelljammer in sight, you're going to want to gadabout. These plant-like creatures can effectively serve as a helmet of sorts, with an air pocket for one creature that will last for a near indefinite amount of time. These are definitely one of our more expensive creatures, as they're highly sought after from the Adventurers Guild, but it seems like we do have a couple more on hand here. And speaking of other void attuned creatures, we also have here some very hard to get space guppies. These are also a little bit more expensive just due to their them being kind of exotic of sorts, but we found some that seem to be living near Bilica, and they themselves have a sort of air envelope around them and have a flyby ability as well, and tend to be quite loyal. And for those creatures who are extremely small, can even be used as mounts. But I will say one of the fun perks of them is that every time they are summoned, there is a slight chance that a wild Chwinga will be riding it astronaut style. And while your Find Familiar spell won't be able to give you control over the Chwinga, it is always an interesting sight and wonder to behold. So that's it. They are quite prized as well. But that's just our selection of those creatures that are more taken to the void here. And you see that he's only talked about a third of the creatures. And there's also many that are more faring for more city folk or those who are looking for more sort of creatures to walk around with. What kind of does anything there suit your fancy?
Gosh, there are a lot of good choices here. And to be honest, I would say my top three would include the dolphin, the guppies, and you said there was like a plant-like one that enveloped one's head when in
Yes, the gadabout. Yes. The gadabouts and the space guppies are definitely some of our more pricier effects. But what was the first one that you were looking after?
the dolphin
The
is
dolphins. The dolphins are we have lots of those. And could be a good introductory purchase as well. What if I may, is your pocketbook here? I notice you're wearing a nice suit there. Are you? I assume you've got Eon Band to use as well. I will let you know. We don't take gems unless you're trying to make sure that something doesn't get purchased by anybody else. We can hold it for a little while, but yes.
Tell you what, I am currently not as liquid as I would like to be in this place, but I will make a deposit if you'd be willing to hold aside one of your dolphins and attune it to this particular focus. and Morty will take out his enhanced arcane focus, which is made from the same material as his briefcase, his suit of armor,
Is
and
this
will
is this your spellcasting focus?
yeah,
Okay.
it's
So you're gonna he mentioned before that it might take a day or two to do this. So you'd be a day or two without a spellcasting focus
typically I use my
on a month.
brewer's mugs.
Yeah.
No, my as my tinkerer's tools for the spellcasting implement. The enhanced arcane focus is one of my infusions that I can
Ah,
create every day.
got it.
So I can effectively still
Understood.
cast while this is being set aside.
Cool. Yeah, well, we for the dolphins, our pet, if you're just looking for a pet, our pet contracts start at 30 yellow gems. So if you're looking for a security deposit on that, we can take gems from you. And but you will need to come back in person to sign the contract as uh, you know, all contracts work on blood signatures. So yes.
Okay. I can make a current deposit of 11 yellow gems.
Ah, I see. Stingy buyer. Uh given that there are lots here, I'll definitely take your 11 yellow gems. And I'll make sure to hold it for you for the day. But after that, it'll be going back on the shelf. Uh, and he kind of, is that a deal? And
No, that wasn't to my understanding. I believe the deposit was so that it would be held for when I was good for the money to then start the contract. This would just be an allowance for a ticket creation, perhaps.
uh, well, let's just say we'd like to see a little more money put up front to make sure that you're worth spending the time to create a custom uh, uh, focus for. And we do have an added uh, surcharge of 60 yellow gems for a custom focus just because of the time and effort required.
Hmm, I
Yeah.
understand. I will be in short correspondence, hoping to get back to you as soon as I can afford to do so in a timely
Awesome.
manner.
Well, since you do seem to be my only customer right now, before you leave, if you'd like to see some of our other more city folk or devilish options, I can explain those to you as well, should you care.
I am almost partial to the dolphin at this point. I have my eyes set on it in some regard, but I think I will return when I am good for it.
Okay. Well, uh, awesome. Uh, good day to you, sir. What was your name again?
My name was Morty.
Morty. Well, I hope you have a good time here. If I may, you know, totally up to you to oblige, but I'm always curious about those coming from afar. Where do you hail from?
Oh, I hail from the region of Johto.
Ah, Joe, is that some sector of the void that I'm unaware of?
Yes, very far out, I've been
Oh,
told.
wow. Well, I will I will let others know that those from afar have come to my lowly shop. Thank you for your patronage, and hope to see you soon.
Likewise.
Yes, awesome, cool. Uh, so do you kind of head towards the door and leave, or do you look at anything else here?
I take a quick price check on Greece.
On Greece?
Yeah,
You're gonna make me look that up right now.
yeah, I am. Low key.
Okay, give me a second.
You did name drop it, so I figured it might be handy.
Um, Sorry. It looks like grease only costs 6 yellow gems per use. With the initial contract unspecified how much it is. It may be contracted differently where it's just per use 6 yellow gems or something like that. But a lot less costly. But it also does have a footnote that this requires a certain level of spellcaster to even work. So yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Planning, pathing, presentation. It's gonna happen.
Yes. And as you do leave, you do notice like a little note leaving that is just like reminder to all new conjuration masters or hobbyists, all purchases at this store are only set in stone for the near Bilica void space, as going beyond the limits of the gyrosphere's ethereal connection does not will may have unintended connect like contract annoyances and other things like that. Yeah.
That makes total sense. And I actually get it.
Yeah. Cool. Dope. As we cut right before the jingle, back to a more tense scene. What is your last thought here as you're about to leave the shop? Give us a little insight into Morty's internal thoughts here.
That lady gave off dark fairy vibes, as if she was a grim snarl in disguise.
Okay.
He isn't sure what to make of it.
Oh, sorry, I totally forgot something here. I need to do this. You see, he says, I'm just going to backtrack. Before you leave, Udrig is like, I will say, if you do seem to be interested in the hobby, I would like to promote our most interesting, most specialized familiar that we have here at Supreme Summons. Tish is her name. May just seem to be a lowly kitty cat of sorts, but let's just say that for one who might be trying to level up their conjuration abilities and keep a contract with something that might be useful in many different forms of conjuration, Tish might be the contract for you. Would you be interested in hearing more before you leave?
And a little more.
Okay. He kind of takes a little hand on his necklace, and you see like a kind of a kitty symbol carved into like a little stone on his neck, and he like just closes his eyes for a second, and this calico cat appears on the table in front of you, and give me a history check.
Oh yeah.
21 or 22. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna tell you what you remember from your history check after he explains his little monologue here. Okay.
Gotcha.
He says, Tish here is our most popular starting contract here for clients of all dispositions at Supreme Summons. You see, even when called upon with just our pet tier contract, she is as cuddly and cute a companion as you could desire. But with the Guardian tier contract, which I even use myself, she can provide you with self-defense, you see. Familiar, on guard. And you see like this kitty cat kind of stand up onto two feet and like use its front arms to kind of like have a sort of combative pose, as if using its front hands as almost able to be like to hold things or something like that. And you see, he says, the reason why many adventurers like Tish so much is she's an all-in-one package, you see. Her spell prowess permitting, she can be summoned not just as a familiar, but also as a summoned beast later in your hobbyist career, or due to her fearless nature, when summoned in that higher level capacity, she can aid you in a bipedal capacity and even carry equipment. As such, overall, her contract is the most affordable for an aspiring conjurer, hoping to grow their experiences with the trade. And in addition, Tish is one of our most dedicated employees, being one of the few contracts to offer 24/6 access when not on hold serving other clients, of course. Though you see it kind of furrows his brow looking down, and this is when you realize that this little kitty cat you've seen before. In fact, this is the first face that you've saw here in Bilica. This is the creature that kind of awoke you from your stony state in that cave not so long ago. And as you recognize this face, the face looking up at you seems to be purely almost consciousless, as if not looking like past you and through you, and just in the command of kind of being on guard or whatever, and seems not to recognize you at all. But you're not quite sure how to take that. And you see Udrig kind of looks down at the calico cat in front of him and says, though it seems that Tish has recently changed her calico coloring a bit somehow. I'll need to ask her about that. Well, thank you for your time, Tish, and for this tutorial. See you soon. And it kind of boops around the nose, and then she poofs away. And you you
Yeah.
get that sense. Yeah.
I still feel as though many of the contracts are outside my current budget, but Tish will be well awaited amongst the dolphin as well.
Yes, well, I always just like to advertise our most favorite companion. To see Tish is a little bit of a acquired daughter of sorts of mine, if you will. One of our such a great working relationship we have. So
so very lively.
yes. Well, I bid you good day, and please let the rest of Bilica know of our great wares and contracts we have here. So yes.
But of course.
Cool. As you leave, thinking about this mysterious lady that had walked in as well, we cut back to a dark room that I
joy
to find my notes for. This is the part I'm not totally prepared for, so we'll go for it. Okay. We come back to a dark interior with this, just the light of this kind of green lamp and these little twinges of arcane symbols kind of just like coming into existence off of this highly powerful being, Grix, here, and it's like, don't forget my brand, young man. Let's just say the best justice is served when least expected.
Can I speak or not?
Yeah, you are now unshackled, just kind of standing there in front of him with all of your stuff on you still, just brought into this room. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Point very much taken. I was just trying to sleep there.
That stunt you
there.
pulled back at the Hall of Speakers was quite intriguing. I don't know how you did it, but
Well,
let's just say lots of eyes are looking upon you right now, even those you can't see. And you see him kind of hold up a hand, and like out of the darkness, not necessarily like coming out into the light, but almost like appearing, is an arcane eye, which you think back to at one point in your previous pirating career. You had encountered
I encountered one.
a wizard who knew how to use a scrying spell of sorts. But you've never actually seen the scrying eye itself uninvisible. But let's just say are powerful.
Unless one of those were watching me, a magician never reveals his secrets. And he'll give a little smirk.
Mm-hmm. Well, ever since I've branded you, I've been interested to see what becomes of your our little deal here. Do you remember what we had talked about previously?
You wanted me to be your eyes and some ears and give you information on.
Yes, information is always nice.
And carry out small tasks for you.
More than just tasks. Few know the extents of your martial capabilities, and let's just say I still very much am happy about your assassination of the Red Warden, and am hoping that under my tutelage, if you will, we can make sure that we take the stain of void chaos and root it out of Bilican society to preserve order here in the Source Pact and Bilica and beyond. And it would be nice to have a pawn on the dragon chessboard, if you will, that is only known to me, and that the bureaucracy of the Source Pact, let's just say, I could turn you in for quite a bounty, and you'd probably face at this point public execution for just your such blatant defiance in front of the Lilitheric network and all of those who were watching that day at the Zodar trial. But
I don't doubt it.
That wouldn't be as much fun as having a pawn to kind of skirt the edges of the bureaucracy here in the Source Pact. Let's just say I've those who sit on the higher councils of the Hall of Speakers definitely like to use, the oligarchy and debates to take action, but such things never create the action that I believe is needed to root out the true infirmaries of this dear city. And a subtle, silent, and sneaky hand.
Someone that can work outside of the light of the law, so to speak.
I believe in the law. I believe in justice. I believe in what is that all humanoids should receive what is coming for them. But let's just say that there are some cases where the true justice does not get served, as malefactors and those who believe in conspiracies and the ability to solve the void craziness that has plagued this world. Those types of people can get in the way.
there are bad folks that know how to skirt the system, or
More like the system is currently broken,
ineffective.
believing in false fantasies of healing those who are obviously well past gone. We already have an overpopulation issue here in Bilica. There's no need for a good section of our land area to be sectioned off for those crazy folk to be sent that might well just be worked, made productive in our prison systems, or if need be, dealt with as you know how to do.
I I think I understand what you're saying. Well,
More and more do you
anything I
see
can do,
more and more do you see
anything
the
I can.
Bilican streets plagued with people who are homeless and who are babbling about nonsenses and creating disturbances that are scaring folk and making them less trusting in the harmonium that keep the streets, nice. And let's just say that, we should be trying to make sure that those fears are quelled rather than supporting the systems that keep those crazies in our city.
Well, I don't know enough about your city here to really give that a fair judgment. But seems to me I've only got one choice. I gotta make sure I am fun enough to keep around that you don't just turn me in. So how do I do that? How do I
I
make
like
sure
the
I'm
way
fun
you're
enough for you?
I like the way you're thinking, Arizo Narranger. Well, let's just say that like I said, crazies take up Bilican resources but provide no benefit to society. Many are homeless, vagrants who cause chaos. And this blight must be rooted out. And if you continue to be thinking in the vein that you just said, maybe you can help root it out from society. I dislike adventurers. They believe that they are above the law. They go out into the void and dare to do things that should get themselves killed, but come back unkilled and chaotic from the void chaos that consumes them. But our systems seem to protect those who should be dealt with in a more explicit way. My sources tell me that there are several low-level adventuring parties that are coming in every day from here and there to the adventuring guild, and that many of which have show signs and symptoms of void madness, but are kind of kept under the wing of the adventuring guild and not and do not face trial or even what. But even if they did face trial, they would just be sent to the Red Asylum, and much better to just finish them off like the Void should have. So, to start you off, when we're talking of tasks, if you will, I will give you one task here. There is an adventuring party named Boom or Bust. And boy, did they boom, and boy, did they bust. But, like these adventures that I've said before, they've busted and come back home. We need to make sure that they don't bust any of our buildings or society or places of congregation here. You see, the crew just limped back into the adventuring docks just recently after a hexed-long mission from a simple fetch quest out to a Kaleido Coral diving outpost. But they were seen causing a commotion at many a bar down near the adventuring docks, but were reined in by higher level adventurers. And the Adventure Guild before of the Adventuring Guild before the Harmonium could get to the scene and really figure out what had happened. But let's just say I have contacts that know that this occurred. It is obvious that they are yet another one of these adventuring groups, bringing home void madness into Bilica, and the system is doing nothing about it. But you're an assassin, right? And I will give you 1 week. If you can prove that you're worth being dealt with, then maybe I won't turn you in. You can always contact me for a pickup location by sending some of your own arcane through your brand. But honestly, I'd prefer if you were to use your cane of yours and make sure that Bilica doesn't see the faces of Boomer Bust anymore without me needing to get involved. The void, untended, descends into chaos. Let us instead make Bilica a beacon of glorious sanity. And when he says glorious sanity, you hear a voice in the back of your head that you haven't heard for a while, as your hand instinctually twitches towards your cane, and you hear, oh, Arizo, oh, did we do it? Did we slay the Red Wizard, the Red Warden? Do we make a name for ourselves?
Arizo thinks, well, now you show up.
I heard.
Awake for the easy part, but sleep for the hard part.
Do we have another quest? I've heard something about a beacon of glorious sanity. Well, and as he starts getting excited, Grix in front of you, Bear Maul kind of still dripping a little bit with the thoughts of vengeance and stuff. His eyes twitch towards you and says, huh. And you see him kind of like move a hand out with like arcane sigils glowing, like wrapping around towards you. And he says, seems you have some sort of magical item upon you that, let's just say, is giving off an interesting scent of magic. Might I? And reaches towards towards you.
I suppose.
And he kind of goes down and reaches for something on you in the darkness. In this moment, what do you think he's reaching for?
I assume he's reaching for the cane.
Okay. In the darkness, he pulls out a from one of your pockets a rectangular looking thing. And he says, curious, it seems you have acquired new magical means here. This chesty item seems to be giving off a faint amount of divination suppression, a hard type of magic to detect, let's just say. But it seems that this hard task of yours, made harder by the expensive bounty on your head, you may have already started to gain some items to help you serve your purpose. I like a servant who gets ahead of the job laid ahead of them. Curious. Let me identify this, will you? And he starts to like identify the.
He'll nod. Arizo will nod. Sure. Re-identify. Nice.
He's saying, interesting. It seems you haven't attuned to it yet. Curious. Well,
I was sleeping and I was going to get around to that.
This should help you greatly with staying covert. Seems you have come prepared for the job, giving me all the more confidence that you might actually be able to do this offer. And let's just say that's somewhat exciting, though seeing your public execution would be quite fun as well. But here you go. This little makeup case of sorts, it seems, might be able to grant you some properties only whispered about in those creatures of bedtime stories, the changelings. And also as is probably the reason you haven't been found yet by other more financially motivated creatures, as being near this object when attuned will give you the benefits of the non-detection spell. And that might help you from the eyes that lurk invisible around
Well, I
every corner.
certainly don't want to be detected.
Well, and he kind of says, it seems that we have a deal and that you still have life left to live. But
At
he
least
kind of
for a week.
Yeah, for a week, basically, he said.
At least for a week, it seems.
And he kind of
Hopefully longer.
like crushes his fist with all of the arcane symbols that were wrapping around in the darkness, crushing his hand, and he like pulls you psychically towards him with your brand kind of like flaring up a little bit, and he says, but don't forget that at the end of the day, though with your newfound magics I may not be able to see exactly what you're doing, you are always my puppet, and that together we will serve to rid the vagrants, the homeless, the crazies from Bilica and create a better order in the shadows.
Arizo will kind of tip his hat.
Well, if you ever need me, just send a little mana through that brand, and I will know way out in Grix's tower, Grix's prison. And with that, I will be dropping you off. And is, are you ready for your 6-day trial? Yes?
Well, it doesn't matter whether I'm ready or not, but ready as I'll get.
And halfway through that, he like pushes his hands down onto the Everdrift below, and like the bottom of this hull like cracks open, and you fall through 2 stories down onto the pavement below. Give me what is that? 2d6. Roll that for yourself.
Yay. I love rolling 2d6 fall damage.
Are you still alive?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you mean, am I still alive? I took a short rest, so we're good.
As you hit the deck there, you see the spelljammer above you. You only see the whole of it, but it quickly zooms out and over the top of a building above, as you hit the pavement there, and you hear a jingle from a door opening nearby. As Yes. What do you look like as you've kind of hit the pavement and are kind of collecting yourself here, as a couple people, a couple of the little kids playing hacky sack in the corner are like laughing at you as you've had an unceremonious entrance there. Yeah.
I just kind of stumble and just look a little, give a little, maybe a little acting to look a little like hobbled, and a little maybe a little like just tired and weary and sad, just kind of limp and stumble away, hobbling on my cane back into the hotel.
Cool. With a jingle, we find Morty in this last scene here before we end, exiting the summoner supreme summons. The sedan chair long gone by this point. And as you leave, you see a old looking humanoid in big trench coat of sorts with the hat, on a cane, kind of getting up from seemingly having just fallen down, and kind of limping away. Does anything occur interaction wise there, or do you just head out back from whence you came? Can't hear Eric. He's muted for a second.
If he's limping, I'm sorry. If he's limping, do I notice any like sound of impact from the fall? Like, did it seem like a
Yes, you definitely heard some sort of impact, but the chime was occurring at the same time, so it was a little hard to hear. But yes,
normally Morty would have the inclination to want to cure wounds nearby people who've been hurt, but
it was
it's
obvious that this guy fell over, so you could go try and
yeah.
cure wounds.
I'll walk up if he's not springing to his feet, see how he's doing, at least observe for the moment.
Cool. I think as you're like coming up from your feet, like getting your cane on and like starting to limp up, you see this humanoid dressed in a nice jacket there, kind of offering to help you up. Do you take the take the help, or do you kind of just go on your own way?
I, Arizo will look a little timid, like a little like attempt to look skeptical, a little timid, and like weak, and just kind of stand up on his cane and step back. Are you one of them? Are you just gonna beat me up too?
No. I was just making sure you're on good terms with whatever ship just dropped you off here. Just making sure
Oh,
that they didn't want you to have a harder splat than you did.
well,
You
that one was just tried to hurt me, I'm afraid. But oh,
Oh no.
Morty,
I keep telling them I
you think
can't.
back to the
I
last
keep
time.
telling them I'm good for the money.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
This
Morty.
stone leg won't let me work to get the money back.
I'm also in a bit of a tight pinch myself. I know how it feels.
Well, if that's all good, sir, I wish you a good day. And he'll turn and limp on the cane back into the hotel.
Are
You
you
link
sure
back.
you don't want to cure wounds before you go? I'd be happy to.
Oh, can you do that? I don't meet too many people who just want to do that. But you sh what's your angle here? No one normally gives out stuff for free.
Well, you fell a long way, and you seemed to have a reasonable response. It has done me much to not offer my services in places where it could have been prudent to. And I've made mistakes in the past by not accounting for as such.
Well,
Mhm.
well, thank you.
And I
I
will
appreciate
cast
it.
Cure Wounds at first level.
What does it look like as you cast it? Like, what kind of flavor does it take on?
So
How
it
much is
takes
it?
11.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We're up to full gaming. That was a max roll. Good job. Thank you, sir.
It's
What
a
is
teal colored hue that emanates from my palm and sort of seemingly ties like a like a power swap, almost as if it's being fed from my briefcase.
interesting? As you heal
Ah,
this
that's some interesting case you got there.
It's quite the piece of tech. I'm glad you've observed.
Morty, give me a insight check, or investigation.
Yeah.
Cool. You notice that now that you've been able to heal this creature a little more, under this trench coat, this guy has some sort of fur. Maybe he's a shifter or some sort of monstrous folk. But from the little that you do know about the social complexities of the Source Pact, you know that these sort of monstrous folk tend to be picked on by the system a little bit more than others. And so that might explain a little bit of his situation there. Yeah.
Tell you what, if you need somewhere to reconvene, ever need a snack or two, go look for I believe his name was, it's got to be written down here.
Alvis Norwood, is that who you're saying?
Yeah, that's who I was thinking. I knew it started with Al.
Okay.
Alvis Norwood.
At the Temple
All right.
Norse.
At the Temple Norse.
The Temple Norse. All right. I'll
Keep it in
Norwood,
mind
Temple
as a
North.
back pocket option. You never know.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Say, are you? You don't look like you're from around here. Well, neither do I suppose. But are you one of those adventurers?
I can't say I'm affiliated with the Adventurers Guild, but there does seem to be the odd circumstance of happenings at the Temple of Norse, where people from all sorts of livelihoods have recently convened.
Interesting. Well, I just am so fascinated with adventurers. Like they can do all these things that, well, me and my bum leg can't do, And have you ever heard? There's this one group that's really fascinating to me. Have you ever heard of a group called Boomer Bust?
Unfortunately, outside of the guild, the competing names aren't as widely accepted. I know
Ah, I
there's
see.
some betting, but I'm not in the market for that game in particular.
No. They're a group that's called Boomer Bust. They're not gamblers.
Right,
An
but
adventurer group.
you understand that, well, the funding for many groups is but a game as well.
Ah, yes, I do. Well, I do really appreciate your time, good sir, but I really should go get some rest. I've had a long day that was just made even longer just now. So gesture upwards.
I hope you find the time to recalibrate appropriately.
Thank you. You as well.
Cool. As Arizo walks back into the bunks and trunks, into the small little foyer there, and as Morty starts making his way, trying to navigate back towards where he came from, can you just give me what are each of you guys thinking about to end the session here?
I'm thinking how lucky I am to have stumbled on a ring of non-detection.
And I'm
And I am
thinking
attuning to that as soon as possible.
that's pretty good. Hard to beat that. Although there were some hitters amongst the familiar list that I was really keen on. Some of the bigger item tickets that were beyond my purchasing power, like the helmet that creates an air bubble. Whoa, that's exactly what I was looking for. But it may be out of
That's pretty
budget for
good.
now, but who knows?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Well, with that, we will end this session of Beyond Bilica. Cool. End the recording.